Hi, these comments are for GE. I am Michael from OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com. How is it going? And boy, you got a complicated question. This is a grammar question about gerunds, right? Okay, so let's look at what you wrote here. You put, after seeing your videos from the grammar section on gerunds, I have a question. How can we differentiate if a verb takes a gerund or if a noun brings a gerund? Now, verbs can introduce two things. They can introduce objects, obviously, right? And they can introduce objects as nouns. They can introduce also gerunds. Gerunds can function as nouns. And then you have verbs can introduce infinitives. For example, I want to go to the store, right? So in this case, we're using an infinitive after the word want. Now you might say, I liked watching that movie last week. So in this case, we're using a gerund directly after the verb. So the question, I don't know about nouns introducing gerunds. I'm not sure about that, but verbs can introduce infinitives or gerunds, and there is, I'm going to give you just a quick trick on how to, at least I can help you some of the time with that. So you say, my friends hate to working on the weekends. Why should it be to working? No, it should be here, my friends hate working on the weekends, not to working. So I would change that to working with no preposition there. You say, in my opinion, a gerund is when putting ing after a verb to see whether it can be a noun. Do you think my understanding is correct? Yes, gerunds are verbs that end in ing and can function as nouns. It means they can function in subject and object positions. That's what you want to remember on those. Okay, now I'm going to show you one little trick, because when you go into my lesson at Stealth, my 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT, my lesson on gerunds, there's a lot to learn in that lesson. That's a pretty big lesson if I remember correctly, right? Okay, how about this? We have two kinds of things going on here. Let's talk about potential and completed actions. Right, so let me give you, and then we will say completed. Now this does not work all the time, this rule, but it works. And you can use it in many cases to help you determine. The question is, do I want an infinitive or do I want a gerund after my verb? So in some cases, when we talk about potential events, like I need to weed my backyard before those plants get too tall. I just want you to notice this. So you're saying I need to weed, which means I haven't done that. So you're talking in this case about a potential action. So remember, there's many exceptions to what I'm telling you here, but this is a common use of an infinitive. I need to weed my backyard before those plants get too tall. Now, if you talk about it as a completed action, it was difficult weeding my backyard because the weeds were knee high. You see what I'm saying here? So now we have it plus verb plus adjective, and then we have weeding right after that. And we're talking in this case about a completed action. So that's probably and there's, well, Michael, certain verbs trigger infinitives and other verbs trigger gerunds. That's true, and it's good to study those kinds of things, but I'm trying to give you something that's fairly easy to remember that you don't have to memorize, and it can help you not all the time, but in many cases when you're not sure whether an infinitive or a gerund should follow the verb, ask yourself this question. Am I talking about a potential action? Maybe the infinitive might work. Am I talking about a completed action? Maybe in this case the gerund may work. Now, the last thing I want you to do here is looking at my website here. I want you to take a look at the grammar part of my course here. Right, so let's take a look at that quickly here. So we're getting into the grammar section. And this is what I want you to look at. Lesson number 24, right? This is a good lesson for you right now based on your questions. So I want you to go to lesson 24, grammar lesson 24, titled gerunds and infinitives. I want you to review some of the basic rules surrounding gerunds and infinitives. Remember that there's a lot of information here, and it'll definitely take you maybe a couple of weeks or so before you can internalize all this information. But that's my suggestion on that. All right, GE? So thank you for your comments. I hope that this video gives you some additional information about how to use gerunds more effectively, more accurately when you're doing the speaking and writing sections of the TOEFL IBT exam.